Good evening, everyone. I am coming to you to raise awareness for a situation that I've been battling for a long time with advocating and trying to find the help and care that I need for my daughter, Amari. Amari is a 16-year-old African American female who suffers from a disease by the name of Pelizaeus-Merzbacher's disease. The disease is where she has a deletion in her X chromosome, which causes global developmental delays and other disabilities as well. It's usually found in males. It's a rare disease, like 1 in 100,000 are diagnosed with this disease, but it's even more rare for females to have it. Amari is possibly the oldest female living with it, and possibly the only African American female with it from the last information that I got earlier this year from neurology. She also suffers from autism. She suffers from ADHD. She suffers from rumination disorder, hypotonia, pica behavior. She has aggressive behaviors as well. To give you a little bit of a background, um, Mari has been having difficulties trying to get the care and the education and supports that she needs from the state of Missouri. When she was early on, when she was younger, she it was difficult for her to find the right schooling for her. We went through many changes with schooling. She would get sent home regularly by the school nurses when she was in the St. Louis Public School Special School District. Eventually, they wind up giving her um, over for enrollment to the Missouri State Severely Disabled School District. It's the only severely disabled state ran school here in St. Louis. But it was quite a headache going back and forth with the different changes and different things and challenges that we had to get her where she's comfortable with. Um, Mari has been relatively healthy in spite of all of her disabilities up until about last year when she had got hospitalized for the first time. With caring for Mari, it has been very difficult. It has been lack of support from immediate family. Their thing is kind of we don't understand it. Has been the story. Wish we can do more. Unfortunately, we're not able to. Um, I've had CPS calls from uh, three in particular. Actually, the first three I ever got, one was I had a seizure and went to the ER, and some current church members at that time had came over to sit with her. And CPS was called and said that the noise Maury makes causes mom to have seizures and she should be removed from the home. This followed by conversations. It was too much for me. I was too young to go through that and have to raise her. The second CPS call was after a company that didn't provide care. Um, I refused their services and I was hotlined by them saying, hey, mom is cutting services out. So they would put Maury at a risk for abuse and neglect because mom, have at that time challenges health wise herself. And the third one, a lady was allergic to seafood. I cooked shrimp. She didn't have a problem. I cooked fish. She was choking and coughing and said that she was allergic to seafood. Well, when I told them don't send her back because we're going to continue to have seafood here, that's what we eat. I then got a hotline call saying that Maury is wet in the morning with her diaper when she comes in due to mom not changing her overnight. Well, mom have to get some sleep. I put her down to sleep. Have to get rest. They wouldn't give me care overnight for her. The caregivers will tell you could change Maury, and they'll be like, we just changed her, and somehow she's wet. We don't know. This is Amari. Um, Recently, she was hospital last year, or let's go back a little bit further. Earlier in the year last year, I reached out to her doctor when I noticed her weight began to fall off for her. She began to slim up. And During that time, her doctor recommended giving her carnation instant breakfast with her meals to try to increase her weight. We did that for a while. The weight began to continue. We began to notice where she would begin to cough and spit up nice amounts of fluids and liquids, even some foods. It's kind of normal for her to have some spitting with the rumination disorder. This where she rubs her mouth and kind of plays with her saliva and food particles and things like that. So we're kind of familiar with that, but this was more frequently, more larger amounts, and in addition to the weight coming off. So about September the 5th to about October 11th, she was hospitalized where they put her on a soft food diet, mechanically soft foods, give her things like macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, things like that to try to pick up the weight and get the weight to pick back up with her. It worked for a while. She was able to pick up a few pounds, but the spitting began to be more intense. And so maybe roughly about 6 months later, of trying different things with her, she had one day where she was here with me, and she choked really bad. And when she choked really bad, it really scared me because she was kind of out of it at this point. And so I took her to the hospital where she went through the ER, and they kept her. In addition to that, we had challenges with trying to get caregivers, of course, due to, COVID coming and kind of making things kind of dysfunctional. This is just a calendar of how many, it's going to be, might be kind of hard to see, but the calendar each month where she don't have PCA services. So here is, that's personal care in the home. This is August. So we had a little bit of service on this one day here. All of these days, nothing. We had days here when she first came home from the hospital, and she had some days here. And this is September where we've had nothing so far. One of the issues we face is many of these companies, they get the contract, they say they're going to provide the care. Once they see the challenges that it is to care for her, I no longer hear from them. They don't communicate. No one is coming out. I reach out to the caregivers, even like I did recently. They said they can't hold the companies accountable, and it's kind of up to them. Most companies, they say, don't want to deal with incontinent patients. I was also told that in North St. Louis, where we reside here in Old North St. Louis, this community is underserved for healthcare, and it's just difficult at this time to get help in the home. So those are things we have pretty much became familiar with, and we've had to deal with. But recently, when she had this hospital stay that started back in April of this year, CPS was called yet again. And it had been called prior, back in also at the beginning of the year when I injured my psoas muscle, actually caring for her, and was in pain. And so her case manager from the Department of Mental Health put a call out for medical necessity. Well, they came in and said pretty much it's not abuse or neglect. We don't have anything we can do. So while she was in the hospital again, this time they found out she didn't have any equipment. So she didn't have any kind of medical bed. She didn't have like a wheelchair or stroller or anything to take her out in the community. She was denied those things previously because she can walk. Well, the thing about Amari, she'll walk around the house, but when you take her out in the community, as soon as she starts walking, she falls down to the ground. She don't walk long periods of time. So we really didn't have anything to take her out into the community with. So we was really restricted. A lot of people may not know to home life due to that. And so they said they wanted to have these things. They wanted to have home care in place. And they wanted her to have medical supplies in place before they would send her home. Well, weeks went past, and they finally got to see it's not as easy as they thought it was going to be to get her these medical supports and things inside of the home. And so we had meeting after meeting where we talked with different higher ups in the hospital, the Department of Mental Health, United Healthcare, Children's Services. And in the meetings, Children's Services said, even if we took custody of her today, we don't have anywhere in the city of St. Louis to place her at all. We don't have anything that is has enough skills and have enough staff to handle her level of care. We had our hopes out for Rankin Jordan. Rankin Jordan eventually got back with the hospital and told them they wouldn't be able to provide care services for Amari either. You know, you look at her and you might be like, oh, it's just a disabled child. It's not that simple. Well, one of the things I got criticized for when she came into the ER is because when they was clearing out her bowels, so she has chronic constipation, there was a glove inside of there. And they're like, well, Mom, what are you doing? She's getting gloves in her stool. Well, while she was in the ER, she snapped something within a matter of seconds and threw it in her mouth. While she was in the hospital, she was pulling her hair out, putting hair in her mouth. She was pulling off the mittens that they would put on her hands to try to keep her from spitting everywhere and from getting into things. Well, she was bite the tags and the straps off of those and chew those. She also got another glove in her stool. You know, so they got to see how you can be the quote unquote perfect mom or the perfect caregiver. But if you don't have your line of sight on Amari at all times and you're not within arm's reach of her, and the school can vouch to this as well, Mari's going to get into things and she has that peak of behavior. So anything that's not good for her, she'll get a hold to and will put in her mouth no matter what it is. You know, so the hospital got frustrated. The staff was getting frustrated with caring for her because of the level of stress that come with caring for her. You know, I had to deal with a lot of condescending, undermining tones and conversations and emails, you know, during that time. And I would state something and, oh, well, we think Mom, and I have proof of these things. Well, maybe Mom is confused and you can clear this up for Mom. I'm the Amari expert, like I told them. You guys may be professionals at what you studied in school. You study medicine, but I am the expert of this kid. I study her. I've raised her for 16 years. So I know the things that pertain to her best, you know. So during those times, it began to be really stressful for me. I'm not knowing, you know, what I'm facing as far as these calls and the angle that they're trying to come up with me. So, you know, I started getting phone calls about her having seizures. And I'm like, Mari never had seizures. And they're like, well, the disease has seizures associated with it. I say, but Mari still never had seizures. You know, it associated with the disease, but in 16 years, we never had a seizure. All of a sudden, she's at the hospital and these seizures come on. So I was at the hospital one day and one of the caregivers came to me and she said, hey, Mom, do you know why Mari is taking so much medicine at night? And I told her, I'm like, I have no idea. What are you talking about? What medicine does she take? She's supposed to be on something for like her behavior. One medication for that and maybe some Miralax or some, you know, Eucerin cream for eczema or something. And that's all Mari been on. So the nurse comes in the room and she places all of these medicines on the counter. And I'm like, what is this? And she's like, this is all the medicine they had Mari taking at night. So I noticed these seizures was happening overnight, particularly. So when I brought that to their attention, I'm like, hey, all of a sudden she started having these seizures and they're all overnight after she's had this list of medicines. This is just one list of things that she was sent home, you know, with. And so I'm like, that's pretty odd, you know. So I started asking for video of it, which after a fight with that, it was difficult. Well, we don't know if we can get you that and so on and so forth. I want to say her last name was Kelly. She finally gave me the video of the seizure that took place because I actually wanted us in my actual computer. I actually wanted proof to see these seizures and what they were talking about. So after I inquired about it being overnight, she mysteriously had one during the daytime. one, or maybe I think it was one, eventually two episodes during the daytime. So when I told them to take her off of those medicines at night, because they said they were giving them so to help her sleep better. Anyone who knows Mari, once she's had her bath, her dinner, and her snack, she's out for the night. She's not waking up. She is snoring fast asleep. So she never needed medicine to help her sleep at night. If anything, she would have needed these medicines during the day to help her during the day when she's a handful. So I had to battle with that, and I've requested to have pharmacy records sent to me. And if you can see here, the pharmacy records is checked. I still have not received the pharmacy records yet. I keep up with everything. So this is Mari's book. And in this book, you have everything, every doctor's appointment, every ER visit, if she's had a surgery, every nurse visit from the school, IEP, ISPs, you name it. It's in this book, okay? It's 16 years of Mari is in this book. And so during that time, when CPS was called, they put me in contact with an organization called Center for Excellence. Shout out to Miss Patsy. Miss Patsy was phenomenal. She got in there and advocated for me, and she helped stand up to these, what I call medical bullies, that were trying to convince me that the only way I can get help for my daughter is if I give up my custodial rights. She's not abused, she's not neglected, but due to Missouri laws, there is nowhere that she can go in the city of St. Louis without me giving up custodial rights. She can only possibly go through, what did they say, 3 hours away, I believe it was a facility where she could go to, and that would be the only place due to Missouri laws. If you're under 18, you don't have anything other than your parent giving up their custodial rights. Or as they told me, if I had money to afford other options, they would be available to her. Well, considering I've had to sacrifice income, I've had to sacrifice education, I've had to sacrifice my own mental health and physical health to care for my daughter, due to I would be at work and they're calling me saying, hey, your daughter's at the bus stop and no one is here. There's no caregiver. So we keep having these issues. Then we're going to get a hotline call or however the process go. So what do I have to do? Make sure I'm at home to get her off the bus so that she's safe and to make sure she's okay so that I don't risk losing my daughter due to some nonsense like that. But, the CPS call with them wind up getting closed because they said they didn't have any abuse or neglect. But the fact that I had to go through that and didn't know what I was facing with that, I've reached out during that time. I reached out to local politicians. I reached out to Cori Bush. An email was sent to her. I actually have copies of the actual email that I sent to her. I sent out emails to Shara Jones. She, by the way, was the only person that responded to me. Her office did. Andrew Hernandez was her administrative assistant who responded to me and put me in contact with the, I believe it was the CEO of a local organization here. And so I was able to get that information from them. I reached out to James Page and actually was in a meeting and shared my story with him. And he was just kind of, I'm so sorry to hear that. And that was kind of the end of that. I reached out to them on Twitter. I have proof that I've tagged them on Twitter, and I got no response, no support, no information back. I reached out to the local media here, Fox 2, KMOV, Real STL News. I have those proofs. No one got back to me. And I even have done stories for a couple of these stations. And when it fit the bill, I had their support and their help. But when it's something where you might have to go up against some of what I call, like I said, medical bullies, the supports isn't there. During that time that she was in the hospital, my own health was at risk. During that time, I injured, I told you, I injured my psoas muscle. I injured another muscle in my back as well. I got diagnosed with edema. I got diagnosed with neuralgia paresthetica. They even thought at one point I was diabetic. My body was so out of whack. And the doctor said my brain probably was sitting in my body, so many mixed signals. My body just didn't know what was going on. And I was scared for myself at that time. Which I got to refer when I, mentioned it to them during a doctor visit, because I was going to urgent care into my primary care, which is at BJC as well. I know it's a little broken up on here. I went to them as well, and I was referred to BJC Behavioral Health Clinic. As you see, that reference is right there. Well, I called them, and they're like, well, we don't serve the community that you live in. Again, North St. Louis. And so they gave me SSM Behavior Urgent Care, Behavior Health Urgent Care Center, which is this here when I went there. And where is it? I want to make sure I get that in there. And I went out there to them while my daughter was in the hospital. And within minutes of being there, I didn't even talk with the doctor one-on-one. He came to the window where the registration and things at, and he's like, what can I get for you today? And I'm like, I'm here to talk to someone. He was like, do you need some medication? Can I get you some medication? I'm like, I need to speak with someone. I really need to talk with someone about everything that's going on. My body is out of whack. I feel like mentally, I'm breaking down physically. I'm breaking down emotionally, breaking down, even spiritually. I had questions for God. There was questions there because even spiritually, I felt like, God, where are you at? And so I was given a prescription and I was sent out the door. I didn't speak with anyone, and I'm talking about I was in a horrible state during that time. And this video is to raise awareness of the challenges that I have had trying to get the help for her. She is a very difficult case, and it's very challenging to take care of her inside the home with no supports. It's also to raise awareness where this thing where North St. Louis, I heard doctors, nurses, everyone talk about how underserved the community is in North St. Louis for mental health. And yet no one is doing anything about it. I don't hear anybody with this on their agenda. I don't hear anybody focused on this. I don't really hear anybody talk about this or discuss this, but I am living this. So this video is out there. I want everyone to share this video, view it, pass it on to the politicians in the community. If you know someone who knows someone, pass it on to them. Let anybody who's going through this, let them know that they are not alone. But how many African Americans that are in this community don't have a voice, don't know how to advocate, don't know who to turn to, don't know or have the support or energies to keep fighting in situations like myself or like my daughter Amari is in? Who do they turn to? What do they do? And that's the question I have for myself. So I'm asking everybody, I don't know. My friends will tell you, I'm very open. I'm very involved in my community. I'm very involved in my kids' educations and their schools. And they will tell you, I'm a very blunt, open person. What you see is what you get. My friends sometimes, criticize me because I'm too open. But I'm exhausted. I'll be honest. It's a songwriter who have a song. I am not okay. I'm not. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stretched. Superwoman cape is dusty. Superwoman cape is torn up. Her suit is scratched up. Her suit is damaged. Her suit is bruised. What do Superwoman do when she's done all she can? And I say Superwoman because a lot of our children view us as superheroes. We're this never stop fighting, always going, beings to these children. And what do we do when that support that they know is gone? I'm a single mom, and it is difficult. Mari's father, he passed away while she was in the hospital. And so, no, there's no father support or anything. It's me. I thank God for the few people I'll say in my community, and that has became family and friends that I have networked with in different organizations that have stepped in and helped me out with, some minute things when I needed it. But where are the leaders? What do we do about this? How do we change this? How do we fix mental health in St. Louis and in North St. Louis? How do we fix this situation where we have this little girl with a rare disease, where she has behaviors and she has challenges and her level of care is high, but we don't have any resources. We don't have anything in St. Louis to help this baby out. Do I have to move somewhere else to get something in my hometown that should be available to a child that didn't ask to be this way? Please like and share this video. And please help me raise awareness for my daughter, Amari Lovings. It would greatly be appreciated. I thank you all for your time. Good evening.